Pastor Roger Matthews tells a story about his vacation one summer. He was out traveling around the Pocono Mountains and came upon an old-fashioned, good old Presbyterian church. He attended the worship one Sunday morning, and it was a lazy Sunday. Church did not have air conditioning. It was hot. People were tired. He looked around. Everybody started nodding off. People were bowing out of their heads and falling down in the pews. And then all of a sudden, the minister did something shocking. The minister just said, "Congregation, I have something to tell you. The best years of my life have been spent in the arms of another man's wife." Everybody popped up out of their pews. Hymnals started falling on the floor. People started whispering each other, and the whole church was in this panic. And Pastor Roger thought, what Sunday have I come to hear this? And then the minister followed up by saying, "It was my mother." See, the other man was his father, and so that's when he was a child. Got it. So anyway, Pastor Roger thought, hey, that was pretty smart. I like that idea. So he kept that locked in his mind. He thought, when I get back to my church, I'm going to use that one of those Sundays. So he had it locked in here, and it was the next summer. He was preaching one of those Sundays. His church didn't have air conditioning either. It was hot. People started drooping in their pews and losing attention. Pastor Roger remembered, that story. And so he just announced it, blurted it right out and said, "Congregation, I have a confession to make. The best years of my life have been spent in the arms of another man's wife." Same effect. People popped up, dropping their hymnals on the floor, people talking. They were all in a panic. And Pastor Roger was so impressed with himself, said, "Wow, it worked. Look at everybody. They're all I got their attention now." And then the worst thing imaginable could have happened. He forgot what came next. He said, all I could think of to say was, "And for the life of me, I cannot remember her name." So, well, we can only hope Pastor Roger was able to make up for all of that one. But it's Mother's Day. We want to remember good mothers and all they've done. We want to remember the inspiration they bring. I love this story. It's my favorite story in the Bible of a very enduring woman with a very prevailing faith that was able to overcome incredible obstacles. Remember when I first read this story, I thought, Jesus, what are you doing here? Looks like you've got something of an attitude, if you will. Well, let's read this story. You think about it. We'll think about it, and we'll look into this story a little bit more. Is Jesus uncaring, or is there a deeper compassion that's working in his heart? Well, the story's found in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 15. It'll be up on the walls behind me. It's also in your bulletin. I'd like for you to follow along. Well, leaving that place, Jesus withdrew to the region of Tyre and Sidon. A Canaanite woman from that vicinity came to him, crying out, "Lord, Son of David, have mercy on me. My daughter is demon-possessed and suffering terribly." And Jesus did not answer a word. So his disciples came to him and urged him, "Send her away, for she keeps crying out after us." And he answered, "I was sent only to the lost sheep of Israel." And the woman came and knelt before him. "Lord, help me," she said. And he replied, "It is not right to take the children's bread and toss it to the dogs." "Yes, it is, Lord," she said. "Even the dogs eat the crumbs that fall from their master's table." Then Jesus said to her, "Woman, you have great faith. Your request is granted." And her daughter was healed at that very moment. And may God add power to the reading of this word, that it takes on new meaning to us this morning, that it shocks us a little bit, and it challenges us to think about how we approach Jesus and how strong is our faith in the midst of adversity. Jesus has quite a reputation in his ministry. E.P. Sanders points out that he had a reputation that was known. He was an effective miracle worker. There was a lot of people in his time that claimed to be miracle workers, but none of them had a following. An ineffective faith healer is not going to draw people to him. But Jesus has that reputation. He was noted for it. In the Gospels, it happens again and again. He's often interrupted when he's trying to do other things. In this particular stage of his life, he's been trying for a few chapters of the story now to get away, just spend time alone with he and his disciples. He's trying to grieve over various losses in his own life, but he's not able to. And here on one of these occasions, this woman comes to him and keeps pestering them. And this woman is not even a Jew. She comes looking for a miracle from him nonetheless. People would do that. But Jesus always had another agenda item. He wasn't interested in just simply healing somebody. He wasn't just simply interested in impressing people like he's doing a magic card trick of some sort. He's wanting to draw faith out of people. He's interested in them coming for the lesson involved, for something deeper to their faith. The saying might be true, come for the pizzazz, but stay for the teaching. Jesus wants to bring people deeper in their faith. Well, this woman comes to Jesus announcing, Son of David. And his disciples might have been thinking, that's a Jewish greeting for the Messiah. Who does this woman, a Gentile, she's not even a Jew, who does she think she is? And here she comes announcing all. Have mercy on me. My daughter is possessed of a demon, and she's suffering terribly. Now, people might have been responding in various ways to that. Your daughter is demon possessed? You don't get demon possession like a flu virus, or it's not like a cold. You get that when you're tampering too much in witchcraft, when you're too much involved in the dark matters of things, when you're too much involved in Satan's will. Some of the disciples might have been thinking, you reap what you sow. She's been dangling with the witchcraft stuff. Let her deal with it. If she thinks Satan is someone that she can bow down to and submit to, then let Satan take care of her. She could have had those demeaning comments. But Jesus has another agenda. He starts out here and he doesn't say anything at all to her. You might wonder, looks like Jesus has a little bit of an attitude, doesn't he? He doesn't even respond to her. He just lets her carry on here. We might think Jesus is very calloused and cold-hearted. Or we might think that he's wanting to work a greater lesson, something a little bit deeper in all of this. Maybe he's got to do some cultivating. Got to see if this faith has got some substance to it or not. I was blessed in life, married and adopted or semi-adopted, if you will, 2 stepchildren, right at that stage that's so precious, right before and as they turn into teenagers. Remember those years? Oh, loving time. I learned so much about forgiveness. You have to forgive 20, 30 times a day, working through all that. And Chris, God bless him, very ingenuitive little boy, an innovative mind. When it came right about Christmas time, his mind was filled with opportunity. His greed. He just wanted everything he could possibly get a hold of. And he'd begin announcing his gift list, what he wanted for Christmas, and working through all those things. And I learned, you listen, you don't write down any of that stuff, because who knows if it's sincere or not. And the second time around, third time around, if there's a pattern that pops out, well, maybe he's serious. And I can start filtering through some of those things. Right away, I know I'm not going to get him a flamethrower or a bazooka or enriched plutonium. No, we'll just let those things go aside. But eventually, something sticks out. For example, a remote-controlled race car. That's feasible. It's up by Walmart. Saw the price. Well, it's in my price range. Might be able to work that out. You'd see if that stuck with him or not. If it stayed, you knew it was serious. If it didn't, you knew it was frivolous, and we could just go on from there. But I had to see what was serious in his heart. What does he really, really want that's precious to him? Let's find out what he believes in, what's important to him. We have those issues. People needing things, their various requests, and how we might accommodate them. In our American culture, when we set up business, we have everything set out. We have plenty of refreshments, comfortable place to meet, brochures, and all of the works. That's not the way it always is through history or in various other cultures. If you were to go to Tibet and want counsel from a wise, holy man up on a mountainside, they don't make it easy. Historically, they're known for that. If you want an answer to a tough question and you ask for directions, people say, see that mountain with all the snow on it up there? He's up there. Good luck. Bring a lunch or two. It's going to take a while to get there. You work your way up. If you finally do make it up there to find the quest for your wisdom that you seek, you saw the monastery. You were allowed into the front door to get out of the wind. But it might be a few days before anyone answered the door. The monks, they can find them slits in the areas there to see that, yeah, there is a visitor. Yeah, he's ringing the bell, but let's see if he really wants in. What substance does he really have? It's been known people would have to wait several days before the door would open up. It's a cultural thing. How serious are they? Are they really seeking wisdom? Do they really have something important or not? Well, Jesus is doing something similar to this woman. Jesus says, I hear you. I see you got a request. But let's see if you've got the faith to pull this off. Let's see if you've got enough substance inside of you to bring this into reality. Let's see what you got here. The first step, Jesus didn't say anything to her. The second step, Jesus said, I was sent only to the lost sheep of Israel. Well, that's true. In Jesus' ministry, he's pretty much a homebody there. He stays within the borders of Israel and doesn't venture out. He stays to the Israelites, to the Jews. In the book of Romans, Paul explains that in all of the theology in this book, first for the Jews and then for the Gentiles. During Jesus' ministry, he encounters Gentiles only 2 times. One is the Roman centurion asking for help for his servant, in this case, the Canaanite woman. He is focused upon the house of Israel. That is what he does. But the woman doesn't stop. She doesn't give up. You see, it's a test. It's a refinement. What's really inside of you? The woman responds by coming closer. She doesn't go away. But she comes right before Jesus. Remember, his disciples are here. There's a crowd gathered around here. And this woman comes, such a touching scene. She falls on her knees and says, Lord, help me. I don't think our English translations could ever capture the tone of her voice. I can only imagine the tears in that voice, saying, Lord, I've tried everything. You're my last hope. There's nothing else except for you. And Jesus looks upon the woman, and he realizes we need one more test. Are you really ready for this miracle? Are you really ready for something amazing and wonderful to happen to you? Maybe you find yourself in this same place. You're on your knees before God, saying, Lord, please, I need this. My child needs this. My parent needs this. Lord, please. And it seems so silent from heaven that there is no response. And we may hear something of this from Jesus. It is not fair to take the children's food and throw it to the dogs. Isn't that an insult? What do you think this woman might have felt? Jesus just implied, perhaps you're one of the dogs. In the Jew-Gentile world, that's the way the Jews always referred to Gentiles. The wild creatures out in the streets, the scavengers, the ones we throw our bones to, and whoever else. And the woman doesn't give up. She stays with it. This amazes me, her faith. Listen how she replies. I like this woman. She's smart. Yes, Lord. But even the dogs eat the crumbs that fall from the master's table. Lord, if you will, I'll pass on the meal. I'll pass on that. I'll pass on the bread. I'll pass on these other things. But if you got some crumbs you want to sweep off the table, I'll take that. It's humility. Humility is what impresses God. There's the old expression, better to be a doorkeeper in heaven than a mansion owner in hell. Maybe that's the way it is for God's people. I'll take the lowest spot if I can have the glory of heaven. That'll be all right. But it's humility that makes the difference. Again and again, the same principle is repeated. The Old Testament, the New Testament, throughout. God opposes the proud, but gives grace to the humble. The people that think they got it all together, the people that think they're so smart, those are the ones God has a problem with. But God loves the people that are humble and that are persistent, like this woman. If you got any crumbs, I'll take the crumbs. I'll take whatever you might have. In 1953, there was a fledgling business called Rocket Chemical Company, and its staff of 3 people set out to create a line of rust prevention solvents and degreasers for use in the aerospace industry. And it took them, ready for this, 40 attempts to perfect their formula. Can you imagine these poor guys? They get their formula put together, they're ready to market it, ready to set it out, and surprise, it doesn't work. We got to pull it back, go back to the shop. They try it. They get the second one put together. They think, now this will do it. Ready to market it, ready to send it out, put it on store shelves, and no, it doesn't work. It doesn't hold up. They have to bring it back. They go through that 39 times. Finally, they get it right on the 40th time. They put it together. They said, this is it. This is it. It holds up. It does exactly what we want it to do. And they named their original secret formula the great name of WD 40. That's the effort. What it stands for is water displacement 40th attempt. It could have been WD 39 if they could have got it sooner. But they didn't give up. They kept at it. They said, no, this has got to work. And they kept on it and kept going, and their faith was strong enough to make it work. When we come before God and ask with great need, God says, I'm listening. What else? He's ready for us to keep coming back and keep coming back and to stay the course and to not give up so quick, but to have faith. And that faith gives us strength to continue. Faith, doing it, being sure about it. Do we have any Star Wars fans here? We have a few. There we go. You remember The Empire Strikes Back? Master Yoda is working with Luke Skywalker, teaching him how to become a Yoda Knight. And it's a great story. I love this, working through all these things. And Yoda has to work with Luke, and Luke is so resistant, so young and wild. And Luke finally gives in, and he says to Master Yoda, all right, I'll give it a try. And that leads to one of the greatest lines that ever came out of Hollywood, if I might try it. Yoda responded saying, no, try not. Do or do not. There is no try. All right. I didn't even put that on my resume that I could do that. Do or do not. You don't try. You don't have any doubt in your head. You do it. And if you've got that kind of faith, it comes to pass. It works. And this woman came before Jesus, said, if crumbs is all you got, I'll take it. I've got that much faith in crumbs. And Jesus is moved by this. He looks down at the woman and says, woman, you have great faith. Your request is granted. Great faith. It's interesting, in the previous chapter, when Jesus walks on the water and Peter walks on the water, and Peter only succeeds for a couple steps and then sinks. You remember what Jesus said to Peter? Oh, Peter, you of little faith. Peter, supposed to be disciple number 1, has got little faith. And this woman who's a Canaanite, a Gentile, whose daughter has been dabbling in the dark arts, she has great faith. And Jesus is moved by this. The faith is that strong to go through 40 attempts, to go through it on. I would be so amused in this chapter if Jesus had one more obstacle. If the woman wouldn't chase him and tackle him and said, I need an answer to my prayer, she'd be that dynamic in it. But Jesus moved. Your faith is what has made all the difference here. You didn't give up. You stood with it. And the answer to your prayer has already arrived. We never even meet this woman's daughter. We never even know anything about her. But we know she's healed by the love, by the faith of this mother. There's a lot of lessons we need to draw from this woman. It's faith. She doesn't give up so quick. She stays with it. She's got strength. She's got endurance. She puts up with all these obstacles and overcomes every one of them, and she prevails. She's got courage. This woman, a Gentile woman, comes into the midst of these Jewish men. Remember, they're fishermen and other trades here. She's not afraid of them. She's not afraid to kneel down before him and said, Jesus, it's not for me, it's for my daughter. I'll do whatever it takes. the humility she's got. If it's crumbs from the table, so be it. I'll take it. She has devotion. And it moves Jesus' heart. He can't resist this. He can't pull back from this kind of faith. And he gives her what she seeks. Years later, James would write of something of the Spirit with these words: you do not have because you do not ask God. Like this mother, we need to have that kind of asking, but we need to understand it this way. You ask, and you ask, and you ask, and you ask, and you keep pestering God about it until you find your answer one way or another. You are persistent because your faith is that strong. Maybe you're struggling with issues of faith. I want to tell you the lesson of this woman. I'd love to meet her someday. We get to heaven and talk to her some more. To have that kind of prevailing faith that doesn't give up so quick, but stays the course. Strong faith indeed. Let this be your legacy. Let this be how you're remembered. Person with strong, strong faith.